And good afternoon, everyone. This is Michael Mortensen, and we are excited about this opportunity because we have not only Phil and Jan Logan, who you see up on your screen, but we also have their grandson, Logan, and we have Marci, now Tuckey, and let's see, Phil and Jan. So let's figure out, first of all, where everyone is. I'm at the Alumni Center at First Missionary Church on the first floor. Logan, where are you?
I'm in room 408 in Sammy Morris, down the Upland campus. I'm one of the few students that has been allowed to stay on campus due to my parents being overseas.
Oh, well, we're glad that you're safe, and we're glad that you're being festive with your Christmas lights there. Marci and Phil, where are you located?
We are in Vienna, Austria.
And what are you doing in Vienna, Austria?
Phil is a high school teacher at the International Christian School of Vienna, and we've been here for 16 years.
Wow. So you're missionaries, and your parents are missionaries. Wow. What time is it in Vienna?
It is 6:00 p.m.
Wow. Thank you for making this part of your day. So, and then I'm just looking, this is interesting. We have Adriana Manau, and she's, I believe, in Thailand, and she's watching this as well. So we've got multiple continents. Carissa is in California. I mean, this is pretty amazing. Jan Loncourt's in Elkhart. My wife is watching just to make sure I'm behaving. This is great. So I'm going to go back now to Phil and to Jan. Where are you located?
We're just across town from you, here in Fort Wayne on the west side of town.
That's great. Well, Phil and Jan, I'm going to start with you. You met at Fort Wayne Bible College, is that correct?
We did. I came from the Royal Oak area, and she came from Peoria.
And when did you meet? I know that wasn't one of the assigned questions, but when did you meet?
Well,
it was my freshman year, his sophomore year. And we were snowball fight during semester break.
I forget if I was defending her or trying to wash your face in snow.
And after you graduated, you went to where and how long did you serve in that country?
We had a few years of further preparation for going overseas, but finally in 1971 we went to Sierra Leone and joined the missionaries there, trying to reach the Karankos, Yolunkas, and Timnees. We were assigned to a distant field that you had to get to with four-wheel drive when you could. So you were allowed to go to Freetown a couple times a year for shopping, and you try to have a vacation. That's pretty hard.
We were talking before this that that they obviously didn't have this kind of technology that available for you then. So how long was it that, or when could you communicate with your family, or how could you communicate with your family?
We had those good old blue air forms that we wrote back and forth. We wrote which took sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes a little longer, but it was usually 6 weeks times that we could talk to communicate with our family. But as far as talking on the telephone or in any other way, we didn't talk to our family for 4 years at that time.
Wow. Well, joining us today, we have Steve Wright. Steve is the son of the late Harlan Wright, who was the alumni director. And then we have Gene Miller. Gene, we're continuing to pray for you and Ray and in his battle. But again, we're glad that you all have joined with us today. I want to talk to you. I want to ask you again, when were you on campus? Our theme has been common ground. So when were you on campus here, and What was it like when you were here on campus? Because we're going to have three different perspectives here. So we'll start with you, Phil and Jan.
We were on the campus, at least I was, from fall of 71, fall of 63, after getting out of high school. And then Jan joined a year later. She worked, we both graduated from high school the same year, but she worked a year in order to pay those exorbitant college costs, you know. I think it cost us like $2,000 a year to attend back then.
I see that, Logan.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous.
I washed pots and pans in the kitchen there, and did other work for, I don't know, Mr. Weldy or somebody.
Yeah, I worked for the registrar.
Who was the registrar back then, Jan?
Harold Welty.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great man. What a great man.
Great man.
So, and his wife, too, was amazing.
Yes, she was. I didn't see a lot of her. She wasn't on campus, but we did know her.
And how about you, Jan? When did you come to the campus, and what was the campus like back then?
I came in the fall of '63, and it was smaller than it was. We didn't have the South Campus at all. The new dorm, it was called the new dorm then. It was Lexington, which I think they're probably going to be tearing down soon, which really makes me feel old. But that was just being built. And the girls were staying in various homes and in like lounges of the dorms that were on North Campus while they were waiting to be able to move into Lexington. So it was a much smaller campus, but very close connected. I think we felt very close to most of the students there at that time.
Sure.
She was at the Cardboard Castle.
Providence.
Good old Providence Hall.
Yeah.
Incidentally, Charles Cameron just chimed in and said, Phil Logan was so helpful to me as a freshman missing home in 1966. So a name from the past there, Phil.
Hi, Chuck.
I'm going to switch now to the Logans the Tuckeys who are in Vienna. Marci, when were you on this campus?
I was there from spring of '89 to I graduated in '92, May of '92.
So you were here when it was Fort Wayne Bible College, and then Summit Christian College.
Christian College, right?
Wow, and I'm glad to see that Fido the dog can join us too.
Penny. I just came in from outside. Sorry.
I bet Logan's really happy to see his dog. So, and what was campus life like then for you, Marci? I mean, obviously a lot of transition during that time, but what were some things that were important to you, or what was life like here then?
Well, I came from the bush of Africa in January, and so when I first got there, it was quite a difference in temperature. And so I just remember being really cold all the time. But in general, I think there was a good spirit. It was, I think at that point, Fort Wayne Bible College was struggling a little bit. And so I think there was maybe some attitudes that I wasn't used to coming from the bush of Africa, coming from boarding school where we, had Bible classes and all that. So for me, it was a little different to be there, away from mom and dad. They were still in Sierra Leone. But I remember going to, loving choir with Dr. Platty and having a great Bible class with Dr. Scarf. And it was, I made some really good friends there. I got to know Brenda Hall really well, and we're still good friends. And keep up with a lot of people from the college via Facebook, which I'm very thankful for. So it was a good, overall it was a good experience. And I lived in Lexington most of the time. Yeah, all the time I was there. Well, and then I lived off campus with some friends as well.
Steve Wright said that he used to deliver the New Sentinel paper to your mom when she lived in the house dorm on Shady Court. Do you remember that, Jan?
I didn't remember it was Steve.
I hope he got the paper all the way to the door.
I honestly don't remember reading it.
Now, Logan, this is stretching it a little bit because we talk about common ground, and obviously, your grandparents went to the Fort Wayne campus, and then your mom, she was here in Fort Wayne when it was Summit, and now you're in Upland at Taylor. When did you come to Taylor? What year are you? What are you studying? And, what are some of the things that have been important to you about your experience at Taylor thus far?
Yeah, so I came in during the fall of 2017, so I graduated spring of 2017 from the International Christian School of Vienna, and I came to Taylor straight away. I'm a junior, so then I'm studying math education, and some of the most crucial things about my time here has just really been MUCAPA, so that's the Organization for Missionary Kids and Third Culture Kids, and I'm currently one of the co-presidents for that organization, but that organization was instrumental in helping me transition not only to life in America, but also life and I think that without MUCAPA, my transition would have been a lot harder, and I would not be as social on Taylor's campus. I probably wouldn't have been a DA last year.
You'll have to explain what a DA is.
So yeah, it's my understanding that the acronym used to be DC, but then we built the DC 7 minutes away from here.
Sure, that's the dining commons.
Yeah. So DC used to mean discipleship coordinator. Now it's discipleship assistant. And what we were in charge of was the spiritual atmosphere on the floor. So sometimes DAs are assigned per wing. So like if you were in Wangets or English or Olson, you're assigned per wing. In SAMI, we divide by half. So there's 3 of us per floor. And we're in charge of the spiritual atmosphere on the floor. So I was in charge of like worship nights, small groups, checking in on people, making sure they were okay. So while the PAs are personnel assistants, they're called RAs on literally every other college campus. But we call them PAs. They're in charge of the physical atmosphere on the floor, so they're checking in on people, making sure the rooms are clean, making sure the doors are open when they have other genders over. The job of the DA was a lot more to check on people's spiritual life and making sure they're okay in that sense.
Yep.
And doing okay. So.
And I want to add that that open dorm is only on certain nights and certain times. It's not not 24 hours a day. No. As I see mom and dad shaking their heads, so as well as grandpa and grandma.
Saturday nights.
Yeah. I found it interesting that your mom said that she had Dr. Platty for choir. You sing in the Taylor Chorale and Taylor Sounds. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that experience and what that has meant to you.
Yeah, so my first 2 years I was under Dr. Joanne Rediger, who is an absolute legend on Taylor's campus, and she's very widely held in high regard by Taylor students, Taylor faculty, Taylor employees, and Taylor alumni. Last year, during our spring concert, she had a great host of alumni come on campus and sing with the Taylor Chorale and Sounds, and that was a very cool experience to see people from as far back as her first year of being a college choir director come back and sing with us. And this year is our first year with Dr. Reed Spencer, and I'm a chorale officer this year, so I've been able to see how the transition has gone more in depth than what some other upperclassmen might have seen. And so there are some differences, some good, some not so good, and you're going to get that with any transition between 2 positions.
Sure.
Ultimately, the spirit of the chorale has stayed the same, and I love being in it, and that's an experience I would not trade much.
Now, I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit, and I'm gonna talk to you, Phil and Jan. can you, in your wildest dreams, I mean, here you were missionaries, and now your daughter becomes a missionary, and your grandson, he just got back from the Philippines where he was student teaching. What does that mean to you to have such long lineage that stretched over 50 years? What has it meant for you to just to see how things have developed in your family?
It means everything. It's just been, it's a wonderful experience or it's a wonderful feeling and meaning when you know your children love the Lord, but when they are out there serving Him and passing this along through generations, it's very meaningful. We just are very, very thankful for what the Lord has done in their lives.
Yeah. Marci, what does it feel like for you? Here you have your parents, they were missionaries, but then, your son, I know he shared with me that he wants to become a missionary. What does that mean for a mama's heart?
I am very thankful that the Lord can use us however He wants to, and so I'm just super grateful for a kid who's serving the Lord and wants to serve the Lord, and I feel very humbled and very honored that's how the Lord has allowed it to work. So yeah.
Now we talk about common ground, and in terms of the Fort Wayne campus, it had chapels, it had mission outreach, it had you were prepared to be servant leaders and that kind of thing. Have you seen those kind of things in your grandson and your son and his preparation that he has now, even though it's on a different campus?
I certainly have. Yeah, I for sure have been very, very pleased with how Taylor is preparing Logan and the things that he's had opportunity to do. He's been to the Bahamas on a mission or on a choir trip, and that was really a great time, and such great leadership with Dr. Rediger, and had a wonderful time in the Philippines, even with the volcano going on at the same time. That was a great experience for him, and just to see him and his growth in the Lord and his spiritual growth and just his personal growth as well. It's been really a great time, a great thing to see. Yeah.
And Janet, what did you say, Logan?
You're gonna make me blush.
Oh, Janet, Phil, you've had a chance to go down and visit Logan. Tell me about that experience, whether it be listening to his choir or just visiting him on the campus. Has that been a good experience for you?
Well, he gave us a pretty good grand tour the first visit, and went into some parts of buildings that normal people didn't get to. Or maybe we're not normal, I guess. But he showed us all around, and we appreciate the dorm life, and really the choir has been fantastic. Seems like much more difficult music than when we were in school. So it's been a very good experience for him.
Well, one of the things I'm most thankful for is I remember that conversation that you and I, Marci, had via Facebook about Logan coming, and it was through the old Fort Wayne phone-a-thon that we raised dollars for dependents of alumni to be able to go to get a Christ Center higher education, and Logan's been the beneficiary of that, and for that I'm grateful. Logan, are you having a good experience?
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Even with so few people on campus, there's still that community that remains on Taylor's campus. Those of us that are still here, it just draws us tighter together.
Yep. I want to ask you, how do you feel like your training prepared you to be missionaries? And that goes for you too, Logan, because, you're preparing as well. So we'll start with Phil and Jan.
Well, I think the training we started here in linguistics, remember one of our missionaries, Bill Harrigan, was teaching some of the classes on missions. We had old Carl Brown too in those days, and Tim Warner. So we had good training and how to learn how to be missionaries and later translators as well. We had what they offered in linguistics, but of course we went to SIL. We learned that Bible college was covered in the first 2 weeks, so expanded beyond that, and we were privileged to translate the entire Bible into the Karanko language, and I'm still teaching Karanko kids via Facebook to read and write their own language.
Wow.
Pushing literature and things like that.
I also understand you're working on a hymnal project that we'll have to talk about a little later.
I think we basically completed that, and my counterpart in Sierra Leone is copying the SIM cards and thumb drives that carry this information to people.
They didn't have thumb drives back then, did they?
No.
Marci, how did this campus prepare you for what you're doing today?
I think Dr. Wes's Romans class was a really good class, and I really enjoyed that, even though I ended up having chicken pox and had to drop out of the class.
Oh, no.
But yeah, that was a really good, good experience. I feel like I grew a lot during that time, and just, it was a good experience. I can't really think of exactly, because it was a little while ago.
Yeah, it was. Well, you think about it, there's over 50 years difference between, the Logans and Logan, in college. So how about you, Logan? How are you being prepared and to be that math teacher or that possible missionary? How is it that that your current education is providing for you?
I think a lot of it currently, I haven't had the chance to take contemporary Christian belief, which is Taylor's big apologetics class. But in the Bible classes I've taken so far, it's been a lot of deepening my faith. And so, I think of the verse where it's always be prepared to give an answer for the hope that you believe in. And I think a lot of the Bible classes I've taken, I think of Dr. Young with Biblet 1 and Historic, and Dr. Metters with Biblet 2. All these classes have really given me a solid foundation that I can base my faith on, and that I can call my faith my own, and it's not something that I depend on my parents for anymore. And just having my faith become continually deepened has been invaluable. It's such a valuable thing for me to have.
Sure.
And so that, and then my education classes and my trying me to be the best math teacher that I can be, and the math teacher that God has called me to be. And I know that whatever skills I learn here, God will use them and supplement them with what He's going to give me to wherever He puts me, because if He's called me to do something, He'll help me complete it, and it won't be on my own strength. Yeah.
Well, again, I'm very grateful for all of you. You all have meant something special to me. I want to just kind of go around the room one last time and just ask you, how are you doing in Vienna? Obviously, the coronavirus is something that we were supposed to be FaceTiming or doing Facebook Live with you, Marci, on your cell phone, going from Vienna to Germany. Obviously, those plans have changed. What is it like in Vienna today with the coronavirus, and how does that impact you and the international school?
Well, personally, we are pretty much sequestered in our home. Thankfully, we are one of the few people who have a backyard, and so a nice-sized backyard. And so Phil, who grew up as a farm boy in Michigan, has been able to dig in the dirt, which has been saving for him. If we were sequestered in an apartment with no outdoors, I think that would be a real challenge for us. But at this point, we are able to go to the grocery store and get groceries. We are able to go out for a walk as long as we maintain a 6-foot perimeter around ourselves so that we don't share germs. And we can go out with, members of our family, but we're not to connect with other people. So we're thankful for WhatsApp so we can connect with people and not just be by ourselves, although we like each other, but
I hope so.
As far as the school, I don't know.
Yeah, we've done 1 week now of online instruction, which has been a challenge, especially for the digital immigrant, not the digital native that most of these kids are. So it's been a real learning curve for us older folks. But I wanted to back up and speak to one of your questions regarding preparing them for the field or ministry.
Sure.
And it's a real privilege to be able to watch Taylor chapels on YouTube, and really enjoy hearing what wonderful wisdom, instruction is being pumped into these kids. The Life Together Covenant, a wonderful thing, and it is not easy out on the mission field, and you've got to get your reliance upon the Lord long before you come this direction.
Yeah.
And it is so important to be anchored in your own devotional time, in your own covenant with one another, but just really anchor it with that time in the Lord.
Phil, I really appreciate you, I really appreciate you sharing that, because we do talk about the 7 anchor points at Taylor, and interesting. I don't know if you were participating in this today or not, but even though all the students, or most of the students, with the exception of a few that are left on campus, like Logan, they had chapel today, virtually. And that just says something about the community, that we're trying to care for our students. We have a parent group that is having an online prayer meeting. It's amazing what this technology, and we're just learning it. But, for them to have chapel today without that chapel even having one person, with the exception of one person, pretty amazing. So how has the coronavirus impacted you, Logan? I mean, obviously, there's not too many students around you right now. What's the latest for you?
Yeah, so more people are leaving each day. I mean, when it first came out, Taylor began by canceling spring break trips, which for us Brown members, that meant we had to cancel our civil rights trip. And that was a big bummer, especially as a corral officer, where I had put hours of logistical planning into it. But they followed that up pretty quickly by saying, okay, we're going to cancel spring break classes, or we're going to cancel class up until the 14th of April. And people were given the option to either move out, which meant take all your stuff, set your room back up the way you found it, and move back to home. And the other 2 options were check out, which meant take some of your stuff, leave your room the way you want it left, and move out, or in my case, stay on campus. And a lot of those options vary based on the availability of home for people. So, like the people across the hall from me, they're from Fort Wayne, and so they just boxed everything up, down, and went back to Fort Wayne. It's a little bit harder for me when I have a 12-hour flight to get back home. So,
and not only that, but the expense associated with that as well.
Right.
So,
I mean, flights are cheaper now, but
yeah. Well, also it might mean that Corona is cheaper too. Exactly. The virus, that is. Right. Phil and Jan, are you just kind of hunkered down in your place?
We are, just like everybody else in Fort Wayne.
Yeah. Now, here's my big question. How many of you have toilet paper?
Our son-in-law works for a place that supplies companies with these kinds of things, and he gave us a great big box.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad I know where to come.
You really can come.
Logan, you probably have more toilet paper than all of us combined.
Sammy's still loaded with toilet paper from the semester, and so with no one here, we're not going through it nearly as fast.
Yeah.
We see what the big scare is about in the first place. So.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for taking extended time. I didn't anticipate this interview to go this long, so I'm going to conclude this. But if you guys would stay on the line, I'd like just to chat with you for a few more minutes. But again, thank you, all three of you, for just talking about the common ground that you had in Fort Wayne Bible Summit and Taylor. And, it's amazing to me to see the lineage and how you've passed things from one generation to the next. And Logan, we look forward to seeing what God's going to do in and through your life and just see where God might lead you. So with that, I'm going to just tell our alumni, thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget, this is not only a day of fun, but also a day of funds. And if you would consider supporting the Alumni Center at www.fwalumnicenter.org, you can make a pledge or a gift. We would really appreciate it. You can also call Stephanie. She's poor thing. She has to be at home during this time because of social distancing. So if you'd give her a call at 260-744-8790, if nothing else, just to thank her for all that she does for us behind the scenes, I would really appreciate it. So with that, I'm going to end this Facebook Live, and I'm going to talk to the Logans off camera. Thanks. Blessings.